Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to season 2 of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone Puzzle Method, an infertility warrior, 2-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. Hey, Dr. Kelsey, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too. Me too. So tell me a little bit more about you. Kind of introduce yourself and tell us how you started working in women's health.
Yeah, so I am a naturopathic doctor and I practice in Guelph, Ontario. So I'm just outside of Toronto. And I've had my practice for almost 5 years now. I think this year will be my 5th year anniversary, but I maybe should look into that and celebrate it a little bit more. But my journey kind of started actually with acne and skin health. And that was my first run-in with an ND when I was in university, maybe like 18, 19. I'd had cystic acne like my entire young adult life. And it was really horrible. And I had, weeks where I wouldn't really be able to talk because it was so swollen around my mouth. And I felt like I had tried all of the things that my doctor had given me. And I finally found naturopathic medicine and really dove into nutrition and how that plays a role and how it likely could be hormonal. And that really sparked me to go, okay, there's something here. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was growing up. I still feel like I'm growing up, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to own my own business. I came from an entrepreneurial family. So I originally was planning on going into pharmacy, and which is like totally opposite of what I do now, which is kind of funny. But anywho, I had all this cosmic alignment that did not work out. And someone was like, have you ever heard of CCNM, which is the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine? And I was like, no, I haven't actually. And I looked into it, and 3 months later I was there. Like it was all just very quick and fast and seemed crazy at the time, but felt very right. And that it really spurred my journey into women's health and hormones and really how there's such a huge lack in mainstream medicine in that area. And then through that and my own sort of fertility journey and figuring that out is how I really found the fertility world. And about a year into my practice after I graduated, I was like, I'm not going to put myself in any box. I want to do women's health. So I'm just going to do women's health and see what happens. And I just kept getting fertility case after fertility case after fertility case. And I was like, no, you know what? There's something here, and I can do a lot of good helping a lot of women with the knowledge that I have curated over the years through my own hormonal journey and fertility journey and education. And that just kind of sparked and has grown into what I now call Fertility Confidence Method. And now my practice is totally virtual. So pre-pandemic, so I'm in Ontario, so pandemic life is a little different here than I think what a lot of other people are experiencing. But in 2019, I left my clinic and I took my practice totally virtual and brought Fertility Confidence Method to life online because I knew I could help more women. And it's been an amazing ride ever since. It's been so great.
I love that. And it's so crazy to me that too, you started all of this through your journey with acne, and to look at your skin, it is the most beautiful skin.
Thank you. The lighting here
I
really
love
helps.
it. Yes, because I also had a big struggle with acne when I was growing up, and diet plays such a huge role, and people don't
Yeah.
realize that. So I love that you
Yeah.
kind of
Huge.
talked about that.
Yeah. It took me
Um,
so many years to like figure it out.
mhm.
And I still have women coming to me, like acne cases coming to me, and I'm like, yes, let me help you
Yes.
because I understand the pain that you're going through
Oh
very
yeah.
well.
I love that. And we'll get into what the fertility confidence method is in a little bit, but I would love to just hear, what are you seeing with people coming into you? You're working virtually now. People are
Yeah.
coming to you, they can't get pregnant. And so talk to me a little bit about that, kind of what you're seeing there.
Yeah, so I find I have a good diversity of clients. So I have women being very proactive, coming to me in the early stages, feeling like they may have some hormonal issues because their periods have been XYZ their whole life, or they always kind of had this worry that something was up. And so they just want to make sure they're putting their best foot forward. But then I also have this subset of women who have been at this for a year or two or three and have had failed medicated cycles and IUIs and IVF and are just like still, on this journey, but feeling like they've literally done all of the things and looking for another set of eyes and opinion and a little bit of care. And something that I really pride myself on with Fertility Confidence Method is the high level of support that we give. So yeah, we need to focus on the physical body and we need to focus on our hormones, obviously, but we also need to spend a good amount of time on that mindset piece. And fertility clinics are wonderful, and I'm so glad we have them and we have access to this medicine. But sometimes we need other pieces in the care and we need a little bit more support. And so I really encourage women, not even just women working with me, but all women to actually build a team around them, because we're all good at some things, but not good at everything. I can't do IVF. So
Right.
that's not in my wheelhouse. I understand the process and the medications because obviously I have to, because I have women going through that. I need to make sure what I'm doing isn't going to impact that negatively, but that's not where I spend the majority of my time. And so figuring out what you need, it can be incredibly overwhelming. And so offering that safe sort of haven of support for women to come in and say, listen, what are you doing right now? What's going on? Let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's connect some dots that maybe haven't been connected yet and figure out how we can amplify what the fertility clinic is doing or amplify what you're already doing so that you can make more confident decisions moving forward on your fertility journey.
I love that. And I always talk about having a team because it takes a village, as they say, and it does take a village to help you through your fertility journey. So I love that. And I think you should have, obviously your medical doctor, you need to have a naturopath on your team. You need to have a fertility coach, even a mentor, a therapist. I mean, they all play a role, and it all is going to get you to that end result of having a baby and having a healthy baby and a healthy mind. So that I love that. And so talk to us a little bit about that. Because I get this question a lot from my clients. How is a naturopath different from your medical MD, and why would you need both?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our training is somewhat similar in the extent of we learn all of the sciencey things in our education. So licensed naturopathic doctors. So there are states and provinces that don't have licensing, meaning there are weekend courses out there that you can take and be an ND and call yourself a naturopathic doctor, or usually I think they call themselves naturopaths. I don't know if they can use the doctor word, but there's no title protection. So in some of those places, any Joe Blow can open up shop. So you do need to be very, very careful if you are in a province or state that's not regulated. So always look that up first when you're looking for an ND or wondering if that's something that might help you, because I've definitely seen it quite a bit recently of people well, I've worked with, so-and-so, do you know them? And I'm like, no, do a digging, figure out they are in an unlicensed province or an unlicensed state. And I'm like, I am different. I will show you how. So we do have to go through a 4-year undergraduate degree and then a 4-year medical degree. So it is 8 years of post-secondary education. There's a 1-year internship. So we spend a whole year shadowing and practicing and being mentored before we write our licensing exams. And the licensing exams are rigorous. So it's not nothing. It's a lot. It's a lot of things to be able to call yourself a naturopathic doctor. And we do, much like medical doctors, we have requirements to maintain licensing with continuing education and things of that nature. The biggest difference really being is that how I explain it is we have different tools in our toolkit. Mm-hmm. So your doctor is going to be really, really good at putting the Band-Aids on diseases that have already come, but they may not, some, not all, I don't want to categorize everyone in a box, but some may not be great at more of the preventative things, the lifestyle, the nutrition. They don't really learn about nutrition or supplements in school. So, when you go there and you're like, we're going to try to have a baby, your doctor's going to go, okay, great. Come off your birth control and get a prenatal, and I'll see you in a year. If it hasn't worked, but you're young, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Whereas an ND approach is going to be a little bit more proactive. I'm going to go, okay, cool. Well, what are your cycles like? Let's look at that. Are you ovulating? Like, that's a pretty big thing that needs to happen. Let's get you on a good quality prenatal. Let's make sure there's nothing going on that may cause a roadblock and give you the best chance possible in the next year versus waiting a year. So that's a big difference from a fertility world, but we learn nutrition and supplementation. We learn traditional Chinese medicine. So we are licensed, at least we are, I don't know about all schools, but we're licensed to do acupuncture here in Ontario. Something I greatly miss being virtual is not offering acupuncture. Right. We learn like chiro adjustments, which is something I never used coming out of school. I was like, let's leave that to the professionals, yes, the actual chiropractors. But we have a lot of different tools in our toolkit to get you to your end goal that ultimately are going to be working on the root cause. So you're not getting pregnant. Okay, why? And then it's my job to figure that out. And trust me when I say, like, I lose sleep over some clients from like their needs. Where's the answer? Like, there's something here. Where is it? And so the degree of support is definitely different. The time you get to take with your ND, or at least with most NDs, is different. And it's different amongst colleagues as well. Like, we all practice a little bit differently, but there's going to be other tools and resources that we can use that are more like quote unquote natural. But I don't always like saying that, because at the end of the day, it's about best standard of care. So I'm not going to sit here and say this supplement is best for you if a pharmaceutical medication actually is best for you in that time. And it's being able to discern between when can we use this toolkit and how do we bring in Western medicine to support us. It's not one or the other. You do need both. And this is a huge mindset shift that is happening. I'm seeing it happen, and I know I'm hopeful in my lifetime we will actually see that being very common, of people having access to both, which will be nice.
Yes, I agree. And I am so glad you mentioned that about licensing, because I feel it's the same with coaches. You can go get a weekend course and become a fertility coach, or you can study many, many years like I did and become a coach. So it's definitely looking up the people you're working with, making sure your team is qualified, that they're licensed, and that they're certified. So I love that you say that. And I think I agree with you. You need both of these people on your team, an MD and an ND. ND is root cause. Your medical doctor knows a little bit more about the pharmaceutical side of things, the medical side. So having both is key. So I'm so glad you said that. I love it. So let's talk about a couple of things that I hear a lot from my clients. One is, I have low AMH. Can I still get pregnant? Talk to us about that. What is AMH and how does it affect our fertility?
Yeah, so AMH is anti-Mullerian hormone, and how I usually describe it is when you have a lot of little follicles in your ovary, they make AMH. And so the premise being, the higher the AMH, the more follicles or more eggs you have. The lower AMH, the lower number of follicles or eggs you have. And for a long time, we've put a lot of pressure on AMH to make all of our fertility decisions, which is doing women a huge disservice. And we actually have research now to show that AMH is not a marker of clinical pregnancy success. So yes, it is a decent marker of ovarian reserve, but it doesn't actually dictate your success in getting pregnant, meaning women with high AMH aren't getting pregnant and women with really low AMH are. And they're not seeing that connection making sense. So we can't see a low AMH and go, okay, like, sorry, but this probably isn't going to happen for you. So how I approach it, first off, I don't usually test it. I don't put a lot of weight in AMH. The fertility clinics, if they're working with a fertility clinic, they do and will. So if they're already in that realm, I'll see that number from them. I don't find it's something that I necessarily need to see if someone's in the early months. It doesn't change anything. When I run blood work, my biggest philosophy is, will this change treatment? I'm not going to run blood work just for the sake of having a number in my back pocket that I don't really care about at the end of the day. So when I see a low AMH, the first thing that I want to know is, okay, have you had an ultrasound? Have they actually gone in and done an antral follicle count? Because that is a much better representation of egg reserve than an AMH number is. And I have seen women with a decently low AMH, like, our units are different. So this is so funny, but I don't actually have the Canadian units memorized, which you think that I would, but I have the American ones. Like, I know that like a 1 is not great in American units. And I've seen women with a 1 or a 1.3 or even a little bit of a less than 1 with an antral follicle count of like 6, 7, 8 per side, which is perfectly fine. So we don't want to get too worked up until we actually get more data. So that's always the first thing, is get an antral follicle count. And then for me, honestly, if antral follicle count is okay, then I usually just go, okay, cool. Like, let's really double down on egg quality. Maybe there's not as many eggs there. And sure, that stinks. Like, obviously we want to hear great numbers. Sometimes we want to find things for peace of mind, but we always still want to hear good numbers. But if it's low, let's just make sure what is there is actually going to listen to the hormonal signals your body is giving you to ovulate, instead of maybe being a bit of poorer quality. So I don't know, I maybe have a bit of a different philosophy with AMH than some practitioners, but I find women stress so much about this number in particular. And I'm like, let's just wait and actually get an accurate representation of count. Let's work on quality. And yeah, maybe we need to speed our timeline up a little bit. If egg reserve is low, we don't want to like dilly-dally. If you're open to IVF or IUI, we don't want to prolong it if that's maybe what is going to have to happen. But we also don't want to make all of our decisions based on that number.
For sure. I agree. And I always remind my clients that it just takes 1 egg, even if you've got low AMH, you just need 1 egg to fertilize. So let's, cause I feel like too, a lot of times we get in our heads about that number and we're like, oh, it's low. It's never going to happen. And then we just spiral. Yeah. So let's focus on
that's why I don't like checking it.
Yes. It's so much sense.
Messes with the mindset piece. Hardcore.
So let's talk a little bit more about how do we make these eggs the strongest that we can? Like, do you have some little tips and tricks for that?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I really, really focus on like the foundational pillars of health. So nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and sleep. Like oftentimes, I'm sure you probably get this a lot too, but it's like women will message me or DM me and they're like, what can I take? What's a good supplement? I need to work on egg quality. What should I buy? And I'm like, okay, first off, I can't give you medical advice in my Instagram DMs. Right. But like also, okay, before we jump to that, before we're like, let's pound you with we could supplement you till the cows come home. Like I could give you 20 different things that might help. But if you're not eating well, if you're not sleeping, if you're not moving your body, if you're stressed to the max, if you're inflamed, no amount of antioxidants are really going to be able to do their job. So before we even get into the realm of supplementation, let's just take it back to the basics. Like, how are you eating? Are you eating a diet with a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and healthy grains and clean protein and, fats and yeah, protein, like enough calories, like all the things? Are you drinking water? Are you looking at environmental exposures to endocrine disrupting chemicals? Are you using clean products on your skin and your makeup and your hair and your cleaning products? Do you not drinking out of plastic? Like, these are all, I think they are simple. I understand that maybe for everyone it's not, but they're oftentimes free-ish, like if you're going from a very processed diet to a whole foods diet, maybe there's a little bit of an increase in price there, but I mean, a lot of your body will thank you for that in the end. So looking at nutrition first, making sure you're doing things in your environment to clean up any toxin or chemical exposure that are going to be impacting egg quality through inflammation and reactive oxygen species and increasing your like hormone dysregulation in general, and making sure that you're sleeping and you're working on your stress. And if you do all of those things, you're going to be helping your egg quality. You don't necessarily need to take something, but you can. And we know that antioxidants are incredibly helpful and supportive for egg quality. We know that things like CoQ10 and N-acetylcysteine and melatonin is like my most favorite fertility support product right now, especially for egg quality. Like, I could go on and on and on about the supplement pieces, but we got to lay the groundwork first. And so that's what I want people to really focus on.
I love it. And those are pretty much all the things that we recommend at the Hormone Puzzle Society and through our methods. So I love that. Yes. And it's so key. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is just for your overall health, but definitely for your fertility. So I love it.
Absolutely. Like, I'll have a lot of women come in and they're like, Kelsey, I've tried I've been, look at all the supplements I'm taking.
Right.
I'm taking all these things. And I'm like, you are taking a lot. Like, let's actually cut that back a little bit. But like, okay, tell me more. Like, how are you eating? How are you doing? What else have you done? But that's all they've done is found the pills. Right. And a lot of times I think it's not their fault. We just aren't having these conversations at an appropriate time. We're not having these conversations until you're already struggling. If we talked about this before, then ultimately it's your decision. Are you willing to make adjustments to your current lifestyle to help you, support you on your fertility journey prior to when you're even starting to try? Or are you just going to cross your fingers and hope for the best? Because sure, there's lots of unhealthy people out there that get pregnant all the time. It's not an exact science. And I hear that complaint a lot. How did she get pregnant?
Me too.
Look at all that I'm doing. And she wasn't even trying. And all she eats is McDonald's. I'm like, I know, I get it. I wish it was black and white, but it's not. Everyone's body is going to function differently and be a different degree of susceptible to hormones and their fluctuations and inflammation and its fluctuations. And we can't necessarily predict. It's not cut and dry like that, unfortunately.
For sure. So let's talk about another thing I hear a lot, blocked tubes. So is there anything we can do to help with blocked tubes or fibroids?
Yeah, so blocked tubes are tricky for sure. There's not a lot of research. I look a lot because this is something that has come across my plate quite a bit that I'm like, I still don't have like the thing, like there isn't a thing that we can do. So when I was in my office, I still work quite closely with her, but there was an osteopathic practitioner in my clinic. Love her to death. I know she'll listen to this, so I'll send her some love. But we were a wonderful team in that regard because she was wonderful with the physical body piece and is trying some really neat stuff in that realm of medicine for blocked tubes. But we don't really we don't really have much. So some of the things that we can't usually tell like why. If there's not like a fibroid blocking it or a cyst blocking it or something, like the ultrasound usually isn't going to come back and be like, this is what's in there,
Right.
so that we can kind of see what might like theoretically help. So things like N-acetylcysteine, thin mucus, I might try that to see like, is there just some like clumpy, like sludgy discharge or something stuck in there that we can maybe get out. Acupuncture is usually another thing that I'll have women doing to see if we can shift anything energetically that helps open them up. Sometimes just the act of doing the HSG is all that they need to actually clear the tubes. So that can be something to try, but that's a tricky one because there really isn't a lot of research on anything natural or otherwise in terms of supporting for tubes. Oftentimes it's just like a straight to IVF from a lot of clinics. Like there's not a lot of strategies we can try. With fibroids, it's a bit different. I find here in Canada, it really depends on the size and location if they're going to do anything about it. So if it's huge, and I don't even know what the cutoff is, it seems very different clinic to clinic, but if it's quite large in the uterus and they know like, yeah, that's going to impact miscarriage risk, especially with growth, they'll take it out. But I also feel like they'll do whatever they can to not take it out because of scar tissue. Like we almost can't win in that scenario, unfortunately. And it's another thing, like, yes, we can try some natural supports and make sure we're reducing inflammation and we're balancing estrogen. And we're doing, and acupuncture is another thing that can be really helpful with fibroids. But much like the blocked tubes, there really isn't like this magical study or thing that's like this will really, really work. So it becomes a little bit more like kind of theoretical in those instances of like, all right, let's try some things and see what happens and hope for the best. And there's a time and a place for that, I definitely think, and work with the clinic and see what their thoughts are in terms of location. There's different types of fibroids. So like, depending on if it's, submucosal or serosal or things, they'll make a decision and go from there. But I find it's a bit hit or miss. Some clients get them taken out and some don't. And we just kind of have to see what we can do with the inflammation piece, and hope for the best.
Yeah, those are both tricky ones with fibroids and blocked tubes, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. So I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors. We're going to come back in and talk about more practical tips. I want to dive into a little bit with mindset, and I want to talk about your Fertility Confidence Method and what that is.
Cool.
So we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Text the keyword hormone to 615-257-8855 for your free cycle syncing quick start guide. Text the keyword fertility coach to 615-257-8855 to get a copy of our course catalog and to learn more on how you can become a certified fertility coach or add fertility coaching to an already existing wellness practice. Text the keyword club to 615-257-8855 to learn more about joining our Hormone P.U.Z.L.E membership club. Hey, Dr. Kelsey, welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's dive in a little bit more with some more practical tips. So let's talk mindset. I know you do a lot with mindset. What are some things, maybe 2 or 3 strategies we can use to make sure that we have a really strong and positive mindset?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing is first to delineate between like working on your mindset and what I call toxic positivity. Like, we're not just going to be like, okay, I'm going to put on a brave face and I'm going to smile. And when people are like, how are you? I'm going to say, I'm fantastic.
Right.
And just like go through life like that, right? Like that's not what we're looking for. We're really looking on, first and foremost, actually processing through the emotions that you're having along this journey. Like, I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. You are essentially grieving every single month. You're either grieving a loss if it didn't work out, or you're grieving the loss of what could have been because you're anticipating it every cycle. And I hear this a lot from my clients. They're like, I basically live in 2-week increments. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Of course you do. And that sucks. So we need to find ways to help you process through the grief and actually acknowledge that this is happening instead of just pushing it away. Because, your cycle, you get day 1 comes, you're like, well, crap. Okay, cool. On to the next one. Pop it away. Eventually, this backpack of where you're putting all that grief is going to be too heavy. And there will come a time where you won't be able to deal as easily or as superficially as you are dealing. And if we can find strategies for you to process through those emotions, acknowledge that they're happening, and have some tools and tricks up your sleeve to help you kind of go through those motions, the backpack's not going away. You're not going to not grieve. You're not going to not feel sad. But you can have a much healthier relationship with that process. And this is something I've really been still like revamping in Fertility Confidence Method and leaning in and figuring out how I can improve as a support system in that area. Because for the first 3 or 4 years of my career, I honestly didn't talk about it all that much. My role in my head was the physical body and the hormones. That's what I was trained to do. And that's what I was good at. And really, truly, when I brought this online and I started leaning into my own mindset journey with business, did I come out of that thinking like, oh my God, my clients need all the things I'm doing for myself. I need to bring that to my clients, because though they're not going through like business things, maybe some of them are, but it's the same at the end of the day. So I really do try to promote that process of, okay, like it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be jealous. It's okay to be angry. Be it. Don't hide it. Go through it. It sucks. Doesn't feel good to feel that way. But if you hide it, if you ignore it, it's still there. It's just going to come out in different ways. We're going to see it manifesting physically in your body. You're not going to be sleeping. You're going to be more anxious. You're going to be depressed. You're going to have crappy digestion. Your skin's probably going to be angry. And when we do things to help that and it's not working, I'm like, what might be going on mentally and emotionally that we're maybe not dealing with here? So meditating, journaling, positive affirmations. I send out a positive affirmation every Sunday to my email list, and I get emails every single week from women being like, I really, really needed to see this today. Thank you. I'm like,
I love that.
Awesome. And it's just one little thing that I'm like, I know this is going to be helpful. And with my clients, I'm like, this is a must, stop asking me what supplements to take and start working on your mindset first. You're doing the supplements, you're doing the diet. Like the next thing you're searching for is really supporting your emotional health and believing that this is actually a possibility for you. Because I truly do believe if you don't believe you can get pregnant because of the years of your struggle, if you've really just been like, I'm going through the motions, but I just assume at this point it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And we have to find a way for you to hold that belief without bringing on more letdown. It's a very delicate balance. But there's a way to do that, and it's different for everybody. What resonates with me may not resonate with you and may not resonate with any of our clients. We have to find a mixture of strategies that will work for you specifically. So I usually give like a little list. I actually have a really great podcast episode about this, called the 2-Week Weight Survival Kit. But meditating, journaling, affirmations, therapy. I think everyone should be in therapy to some degree. I really do. I talk about it all the time. I think my ladies get kind of sick of it every once in a while. I'm like, you probably need therapy.
Right?
They're like, I know.
Yep.
But there's and anything that really just like brings you joy and fills your cup is for you. Like, there's a time and a place for distractions, and for the fertility journey, we need that sometimes. It's okay to distract yourself if you're also doing the inner work and processing through the emotions at the same time.
I love that. And I love that you say, that's one of the questions I ask my ladies is, do you actually believe that you can get pregnant? Because if you don't believe that to your core, your physical body will follow suit.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I would love to hear what are some of your favorite affirmations? Maybe just like one or two that you send.
What did I send? I don't remember what I sent this week, but I really love like, my body is strong and capable. And my body is not broken, that's a big one. So the best thing to do is to really sit there and think like, what are some of the negative thoughts I've said to myself? Like, I can't do this, or I'm letting my husband down, I'm letting my partner down, or whatever that might be. And find a variation of that's flipped that you actually can believe. So I don't find it works for women to sit there and be like, I am pregnant, through their whole 2-week wait, because there is definitely a disconnect there with belief. But if we can say things like, I am working towards a healthy body that's capable of holding a baby, that's true. If you're working with me, if you're working with anyone, if you're doing the steps, you are working towards, like, that is a true statement. And the real big thing is we need to believe it. So you need to find something that you truly do believe in. So I really love, like, my body is strong and capable. My baby is coming to me. I'm allowed to feel joy in every moment and things like that. And I have them all over my desk. And I sit at my desk all day, and they sit here on my desk, and every once in a while I stop and I read each sticky note out loud to myself. Probably my partner can hear me upstairs. And I believe it. Like, I'm not just like, okay, it's just blah, blah, blah. My body's strong and capable. I'm like, my body is really amazing and strong and capable. And you're going to feel silly. And then in like 3 weeks, you're going to feel like a total badass, and it's going to feel so much better. And then you just find affirmations. They're fluid, like you might outgrow some, you might need something else. You find what works for you. It's always changing for me. And if you're on my email list, you'll get a new one every Sunday that you can decide if that's right for you or not.
I love that. Oh my goodness. So amazing. So let's dive into your Fertility Confidence Method. What is that? And can you kind of go through those pillars that are involved in that?
Yeah. So I have a 3-pillar fertility success system. So it kind of covers everything we sort of talked about today. Like, I really do believe that inflammation, hormonal imbalances, and mindset play a really large role here. So in my 3-pillar system, we break things down. So first we start with what I call the kickstart. We want to lay that foundational groundwork. We want to talk about nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and sleep. We want to set that groundwork up before we move into trying to even work on your hormones. Because like I said before, if we're like giving you Vitex and doing these things to try to help your thyroid and balance your hormones, but you're eating out 3 times a week and you're not sleeping and you feel like garbage, nothing that we do there is really going to be helpful for you. And so one of the things that I'll say often in my master class is, a lot of the times you're doing these things that you've read about will help, but it won't work because you're not actually getting down to that root cause issue, and you're not working on the potential inflammation or autoimmunity or the actual hormone imbalance issues. You're just kind of like putting these blankets on with our general info that we get online. So the Kickstart kind of lays that groundwork. We move into the second pillar, which is hormone optimization. And I go beyond our basic estrogen and progesterone, which is often the two big hormones that women are concerned about if they're trying to get pregnant. But we also have to talk about your thyroid. We also have to talk about testosterone. We also have to talk about cortisol. And we also have to talk about insulin, which is like my most favorite hormone. And everyone's like, insulin, what? I'm not diabetic. I'm like, no. There's more to it than that. I'm actually putting an episode together about that later today. So I find insulin just goes well under the table for a lot of women. And, I would say about 40 to 45% of the women I work with have some mild, moderate, or severe form of insulin resistance. And they're like, why has no one told me this before? I'm like, I don't know. But this is the thing. You didn't know that back then, and you do now. And now we just move forward with our new information, and we can't change what we didn't know in the past. So we go through all of the hormones. We figure out not everyone's journey through the pillars is obviously going to be the same because everyone's different. Some people may need to work on thyroid and some don't. So we individualize, we process through that with each client so that they make sure they're getting a structured strategy for them. And then the third pillar is mindset. Right now I have it set up that it's kind of like at the end, I'm now going to start littering it throughout the first two pillars. So it's almost like you go through pillar 1 and pillar 2, but you're constantly doing pillar 3 at the same time, so that we're working on mindset from the get-go. And this is how, I'm always evolving how I do things in my program, especially based on the research and what I'm finding is working. So we want to work on the physical body. We also want to work on the mental body as well. And we do a lot of wonderful things with hormones and inflammation and stress and cortisol and insulin. But then we make sure that you're feeling supported, and we have success coaches for everyone so that they have a safe place to go and someone checking in on them and making sure that they're feeling well and supported. And we talk about charting, and we talk about male infertility, and it really is a one-stop shop. Like I tell my women, when you come in and work with me, you no longer Google.
Right.
I am your Google now.
Yes.
Come to us. Let us tell you accurate information. Let me talk you off the ledge. If you want to add your 15th supplement in, let us work together. Like we're a team now. And we figure out, do you need other people on your team? Is the appropriate time to go to the fertility clinic? Is it now? Is it not? We don't know. So there's a wonderful level of support that I feel like was severely lacking, even when in just my clinical practice. I could only see people a few times. Now in this model, I've been able to curate and build such a beautiful team around me that the support level is beyond what you would ever imagine or experience in another practitioner's care. And that was really important to me, knowing what it was like for my clients in the fertility clinic. And I was like, it's okay. You might not get the warm and fuzzies there. That's fine. I'll give you the warm and fuzzies. I'll explain things to you. That's okay. Don't let them do what they're good at. They're really, really good at their job, but they might not sit and, really explain things to you or offer you a platter of solutions. They're going to offer you the best solution that they have. And then we can fill in the gaps. We can talk about the nutrition and the lifestyle and the supplementation to support the plan that the clinic's put together. Or if you're not there yet, then we have so many tools at our disposal to put into motion so that if the time comes, you need to make that decision about going to the fertility clinic, you can feel confident that you have done everything that you can, and confident that the next level of support is necessary, versus being like, I don't even really know if I'm investing in something that is going to be able to help me because you haven't tried anything else.
Right. For sure. I love that. And I know we're running a little short on time, and we're going to wrap up here in a minute, but I would love for just a second to dive into insulin, because I don't feel like we talk about it enough. And so tell me a little bit more about that. Here, tell our audience.
Yeah. So
what does it do?
Yeah. So insulin, like very basic. When you eat food, you break your food down to glucose. glucose needs to get into your cells for fuel. How that happens is insulin. So when there's glucose in your bloodstream, your pancreas goes, okay, here you go. And insulin basically opens that door. And women and men, like this is not a female specific issue, and they don't really have a good understanding of like why people become insulin resistant. There's some theories that float around there. I do think a lot of it is genetic and then just poor lifestyle contributing. So how I kind of explain it is if you're just like constantly being bombarded with insulin, like, and glucose and your cells, like the doors just knock, knock, knock all the time. Eventually, if someone's knocking on your door for an hour and you go and you go and you go and you go, eventually you're gonna be like, leave me alone. And you're just going to stop answering. And that's what happens when we become insulin resistant is the cells just stop responding to that signal. So what happens then is your body's like, oh, there's still lots of glucose here. We obviously need more insulin. That's the solution. And so your insulin rises and it basically becomes this issue of elevated insulin taking care of the glucose. It takes a while for the glucose to actually be an issue. So this is our like pre-diabetes. If we screened for insulin resistance the same way that we screen for diabetes with the hemoglobin A1C, we would catch people years before diabetes was even on the table. But we don't do it that way. I don't know why. And it's not my area. But it's an issue. I feel strongly that it is an issue. And with fertility, our elevated levels of insulin can impact a few things. So it can turn off ovulation. It causes inflammation. So we know that inflammation impacts egg quality. It can increase testosterone levels. So actually telling your ovary to make more testosterone. It makes kind of like an inhospitable environment around your ovary. So it can actually make it hard for your body to ovulate. So instead of ovulating, you may just make a cyst. And then you think you've ovulated, but you haven't, or you're just not ovulating at all. So long irregular cycles, it's not a diagnostic criteria for PCOS. So not all women with PCOS are insulin resistant and not all women who are insulin resistant have PCOS, but it's very common in women who have PCOS to be insulin resistant. So we need to be screening. If you have long irregular cycles, you need to be screened for insulin resistance. But being overweight, sedentary lifestyle, poor eating habits, smoking, those are kind of our risk factors that we want to make sure we're ruling that out. If you have a family history of type 2 diabetes, like your insulin should be checked every year. It should be standard. And then taking that sort of TTC piece out of it, it also increases miscarriage risk because elevated levels of insulin in the bloodstream impact placental health and development. So maybe you're ovulating and you're able to get pregnant, but if your insulin is still high, we still have a risk factor there moving forward with pregnancy. So it's very imperative that we get those levels under control and down prior to you getting pregnant. Or for some women, we need to do that to get them ovulating. And this is a big issue that I see quite regularly with women with PCOS, or maybe they haven't been diagnosed with PCOS, but they're not ovulating. And so they get letrozole or Clomid. Cool. But if their insulin is high, maybe the letrozole or Clomid will get them to ovulate, which is the biggest barrier, but we're not dealing with the miscarriage risk factors. So there's still, this is really where the medication, the pharmaceuticals need to be melded together with the root cause natural lifestyle approach, because the medication can do a really good job at what it's meant to do, but we may not actually be dealing with the underlying inflammation, hormonal imbalances, or things that are then going to be contributing to issues with pregnancy moving forward. And that's a big thing I see with insulin, is oftentimes women who are like, I don't get a period, they're going to put me on meds, we're going to do IUIs. I'm like, okay, cool. But first, let's actually take one step back. Let's look at the whole picture and make sure that before you invest money in medication and IUIs and IVF, we're actually putting you in the best position possible for that to work. And it just goes overlooked so much. I find it a lot in my practice especially clients already working with a fertility clinic, and they're like, why isn't my clinic check this? I'm like, I don't know. And maybe some do. Again, like obviously I haven't worked with everyone in North America. Right. So like maybe some do, which is awesome. And I hope we see it more and more, because a fasting glucose and a hemoglobin A1C likely isn't telling the whole story, because you can have elevated insulin and perfectly normal glucose levels for a really long time before it becomes an issue.
And so say we get these tests, we see our insulin is high. How do we get it down?
Diet first and foremost. So really looking at what things can spike insulin. Dairy is actually one of those big ones. That is a huge insulin spiker. We want to make sure that we're eating protein and fat with carbs. So it's not about being carb free. We don't have to completely remove carbs from your life, but you want to pair that with a fat and protein. We essentially want to keep your blood sugar nice and balanced. So I will find a lot of times my clients with insulin resistance are huge breakfast skippers, or they will skip breakfast. They'll have a healthy light lunch and then they'll binge in the end of the day. Or a lot of times, a lot of them aren't actually getting enough calories, because usually with insulin resistance comes weight gain. So they're trying to lose weight. So they've cut back their calories. Now they're not eating enough and they're in severe caloric deficiency, and their blood sugar is just up and down and up and down and up and down. And that is actually going to make the insulin resistance worse. We need to stabilize that. So we need to be eating enough, and we need to be eating regularly timed meals to help bring that down. Walking, I think the research is about 30 to 40 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. Nothing else can actually reduce insulin and improve insulin sensitivity in cells. So exercise, walking, it doesn't need to be anything super crazy. It can literally just be a 20-minute walk outside, and you can do great things for your body. Managing stress, because if your cortisol is high, you're going to be at more risk of insulin resistance. So we want to make sure we're managing your stress. And then there's some supplementation we can add in as well. So inositol is a beautiful product that has tons of research, and berberine and N-acetylcysteine. And then our pharmaceutical option is metformin. So for some clients, that is truly the best option. With a timeline perspective. If you've been trying for a couple of years and we really need to get this ball rolling, I will recommend metformin over berberine, which is the herbal equivalent. But berberine works great. I just find some women respond to metformin better, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you need the pharmaceutical over the herb, that's cool. We just need to figure out the combo that works for you.
I love it. It's amazing. Well, I could talk to you all day, Dr. Kelsey, but we do have to wrap up. So
yes.
Tell us where we can find you and where we can learn more about the Fertility Confidence Method.
Yeah, so you can find me in my free Facebook group, so Be Hormonally Confident. Please come and join me in there. There's so many videos. I'm live in there 1 to 3 times a week. And then I'm very active on Instagram, so at Fertility Confidence Method. Come and hang out with me there. And then I do have a 30-minute morning routine that you can download, which is at www.kelseyduncan.click/boost. I think I'll give it to you.
Yes, we'll put it
that might be wrong.
We'll put it in the show notes for sure. Everybody can
that'd be great.
And learn more about this method. So any final thoughts or words of encouragement before we close out?
No, I think that honestly, the biggest thing I hope you take out of all of this is that you aren't alone. And if you feel like you're doing everything, get a second opinion. And if you feel like you maybe haven't been doing enough, that's okay. Now you know that there's other options out there, and you can move forward with the new information and make different decisions. But up until now, you're doing your best with the information that you have. And that's all we can ask for, really. So it's scary. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so finding someone that really does follow the research and that you trust in all aspects of your healthcare team are important. And if you're not comfortable with someone you're working with, you don't have to stay there. And that is a really big piece of advice I give to all my ladies, is find people that you feel supported by, because this journey, it can be a long one and it's not easy. And you need to be taking care of you first and foremost.
Amen to that. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kelsey. I've loved getting to know you and having you on the show. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, ladies, for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye.
Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.